Hello everyone, today we are checking out Love Trial from Finana Ryugu. I am not familiar with this song, but I loved Finana's voice in her original Tsunami, so I'm very excited to see how this sounds. Let's just get right into things in 3, 2, 1, play. Ooh. Oh. Alright. Already we've got these 3 really distinct tracks. We've got the keys, we've got the horns, and then there's a sort of parallel to the keys in the introduction here. It sounds like a synth arpeggio that's pretty low in the mix, and it's sort of mirroring the keys in a dissension almost. If you hear that as the keys go up, you can hear the backing synth arpeggio go down. And then we get the drums really popping here. I really like this horn. Ooh. Alright, we're getting a very high-pitched tone from Finana here. Much higher than I remember her going in a Tsunami. And it's also a very interesting bass lick we got there. The bass kind of had this big moment where it popped out in the mix, but now we're getting it a bit more subdued. Right here. Very smooth voice. Nice, we're getting more of the backing vocal. Well, I say more of, we're just getting a backing vocal now, a bit lower, getting more support in that voice here. Ooh, I like how the backing vocal pulled out. We got a bit of isolation on the main vocal track, and then we got that piano coming up in the mix. That was really nice. That roll there. Ooh. Interesting transition there. We got sort of this horn drum emphasis with these 3 really rhythmic notes, and then we're going into just sort of a more repetition from before. Obviously we've got a bit of a switch up, but the instrumentation isn't vastly different, the vocals aren't vastly different, we're just sort of switching up the rhythm a bit. Ooh, I do like that backing vocal way up high though. It's like sort of mirroring where the backing vocal was before. Before we got a sort of suppressed low backing vocal, and now we're sort of mirroring that again. I feel like we're getting a couple of juxtapositions here in this mix, and not only are we getting those synths with the key arpeggios, we're also getting I believe that bass and the drums, you could almost consider that a bit of a comparison, because sometimes we'll get the bass popping out as opposed to when the drums pop out, and again we're getting the backing vocal compared from when it's lower and suppressed to when it's higher and suppressed. And when I say suppressed, I don't necessarily mean that in the EQ terms, I mean that more so in just volume. That was a nice climb. Alright, instrumental breakdown. Okay. Letting the horns really take center stage here. That was a good exclamation here. I will say her voice has been very, very consistent throughout this entire song so far. We haven't really gotten too much variation aside from her exclamations. When she does exclamations, like the no 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 or the oh Jesus, those moments you can hear her change her inflection a bit. But for the most part, she's keeping it very, very consistent. And that could just be to mirror the original song. But personally, I would have liked a little more variation, but she's still doing a wonderful job. And I don't know if that's just how the original song is in its composition. I feel like I could just be overthinking it, but the vocals here sound mixed. They sound like they're mixed differently. It sounds like there's more treble than there was before, or comparatively, maybe we just pulled out more bass and of those bass tones in the vocal track, because I could just be overthinking it. But it sounds like we're pulling out a bit of the support in the lower tonalities of this specific vocal track. Another possibility, though, is if it's not EQ work, it could just be the vocalist herself, Finana. She might just be tightening up her voice a bit, getting a little bit more nasally as well. It sounds like we're still keeping it fairly consistent. Her voice hasn't drastically changed at all from the introductory lines we got, but we're getting a bit more of a treble tonality. It feels like she's maybe tightening up her voice a bit or going a little more nasally. That could be something that was intentional. That could be something that wasn't. It's just something I feel like I noticed. I will say I know I'm pausing quite a lot. I will say I really like these palm muted guitars we're getting in the very back of the mix. Oh, we're getting, it could be a bit of the bass as well. It feels like we're getting a couple of ghost notes with just the sort of the hand stopping the strings from really vibrating too much, while the right hand just sort of strums the strings a bit to get a little bit of percussive element to the guitar. And I like how that's sort of being used here to progress and push the song forward when the vocals aren't really too high velocity or too intense. Nice exclamation. We're getting backing vocal again. This time we're getting the backing vocal up high again. Alright. That was a nice. I like how the backing vocal was used there to do a bit of a dissension, and then the piano hitting right after that adds some impact to it. The piano adds a bit of flair, because you know, sometimes you'll have a vocalist sort of do a bit of a flare or hold a note sustain and put a bit of vibrato on it to add that bit of a bloom, not necessarily a bloom, more so just variation, a flare, and inflection. And we're getting that through the piano here, because the vocals throughout the song have been very pretty much calm. You know, we still have those exclamations, but even the exclamations haven't been like too high intensity. The velocity of her air feels fairly slow, and I don't mean slow as in necessarily like in general, but just like relatively to the other songs we've heard in Nijisanji, or just a high intensity energetic song. The vocals here don't have a very high air velocity to my ears. Obviously, we're still getting some of that intensity from the horns, the keys, and the drums that are pushing the song forward, but the vocals itself isn't super energetic. Ooh, and that was a nice guitar line there. Ooh, nice. Nice, we got a bit of a fill from all these different instruments. We got the guitar doing a bit of a fill. We got the drums, the bass. That was really nice. I like that. Ooh, and the keys are coming up in the mix here. Nice. Nice climb there. Ooh, and a double emphasis. Are we using pitch correction here? I could be completely mistaken, but it sounds like all of a sudden we got more pitch correction in the vocal track. I could be mistaken, but that sounds like a digital pitch correction. Obviously, she's still pulling that off as a vocalist. She's still hitting those notes more or less, but it feels like we got a bit more pitch correction in the mix there. If it just sounds more digital in general, which isn't something you really want to do on an isolated vocal track. Obviously, we still have some backing with the we've got guitar and drums backing it, but you don't want to add too much pitch correction on a fairly isolated vocal track. Obviously, you know, there are some songs that embrace the pitch correction and want to put it center stage. You know, you have like artists that embrace the auto-tune and try to make that their thing, but in a song like this, I don't think that was the goal or the intent. So I think the pitch correction should be toned down a bit. I don't think Finana needs the pitch correction either. So I feel like that might have been an artistic choice, but if it was just for the pitch, maybe they were running a little short on time for recording or something along those lines, because that sounds a little off just right there. See, until that last isolation, it sounds fine. It sounds like perfectly normal compared to from before in the song. That sounds fine. But right here, it sounds a little odd. I don't know if it's maybe something with the mix or if there's just too much pitch correction. It doesn't sound quite right. Let me go back again. Yeah, she sounds fine here. I don't know if maybe she's just going a little more nasally than I was used to from the other lines in the song. I don't know if she's just like maybe tightening up her throat and going a little more nasally than I was used to. But to me, that sort of sounds like a digital pitch correction. Could be wrong, but if I was like in charge of the music team or anything, I might have re-recorded that line or had some mix adjustments. But overall, she's still doing an amazing job. I like that backing vocal there. In terms of composition, I would have added a bit more of an impact on that switch up there, but it was still a good switch up. I still like that. Right there. Getting that backing vocal again. Nice. That was a good piano impact there. I like that piano swipe to create some impact. Now, regarding that moment where I was talking about pitch correction, it could just be without the instrumentation support over or under her vocals. It could be I just caught onto the nasaliness of her tonality a little more, and that threw me off. But I do feel like there's pitch correction there, and I think there didn't need to be, because Finana can hit those notes. I know she can hit those notes, and I think that was an artistic choice that maybe it's just preference based, but I think if we could have let Finana's voice take more of center stage at that moment, as well as in this cover. You know, her tonality was pretty static throughout this cover. It wasn't like bad at any point, but it was just not as much variation as I would have expected from most of the other covers we've heard in Nijisanji. Still, I did absolutely love this performance. I thought it was wonderful, but I would like maybe in terms of composition, perhaps more so than the performance of this team or Finana, I generally like songs with a bit more variation in their vocals and in the mix as well. Though I think the mix, well, when I say mix, I mean instrumentation. Um, I think the instrumentation throughout the song was really good. I really like the mix-ups we got with the guitar, the drums, the bass, the horns. That was really fun instrumentation in the song. But I think the vocals didn't really feel like they were taking center stage ever really. I like, aside from the isolated parts, it never really felt like the vocals were like, dang, these are vocals. Like these are the point of the song. And I feel like, that is something you see more with original songs than covers, because original songs are made around the talent and they're made to showcase the talent, but covers are really just made as songs just to sound good, and they're not necessarily made with a particular emphasis on any one track per se. And so I think that could be why, now that I've listened to so many original songs, I feel more inclined to songs that center around the vocals. But this was still a really pleasant song to hear, and I really did enjoy it. So thank you very much for watching, and as always, feel free to recommend more in the comments below. Aside from that, I will see you all in next time. Thank you so much.